Hi guys, this is Umair. I'm back with another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to develop an amazing thing inside jQuery. As you can see on my screen, I have this image gallery contain 5 images. Now what I'm gonna do is when I will click any of these images, it will show a pop-up image. Alright, it will show an overlay. An overlay contains an image, and this overlay contains this cross button. In order to close this pop-up image, I have to click on this cross button. You can see that it has been closed. If I open another image, I can close it as well. So I hope that you are gonna learn a lot in this tutorial. So let's start. The IDE I'm using is WebStorm. You can use any other IDEs as well, or a simple text editor. So what I have right now, I have this project that I have just created, an empty project, and inside this project I have these images that I'm gonna show inside my image gallery, and I have this close image button that you have seen at the top right corner. Alright, and in other than this folder, I have this index file, contains nothing, just the default tags and a reference to my style sheet. Alright, this is the style sheet that I have just created. It is empty. Alright, and I have another script file. This is the script file, and I have included the jQuery reference here, and after including the jQuery reference, I have included the reference of my actual jQuery file, alright, in which I'm gonna write code. Alright, so let's first write the HTML to make the user interface. Alright, so first we need to add a heading, and it should be image gallery. Alright, and under this heading we need to create an unordered list that will contain images. First let's give it an ID of image gallery. Alright, and inside it let's create list items. Alright, and inside list item we need to add an anchor tag in order to enable click event onto that list item. So this will be an anchor tag, and it will contain images / crocodile JPEG. Alright, and inside this anchor tag we need to add an image tag. Alright, it will receive the same value. Alright, now we have these 5 images. We need to create 5 list items. So let's copy it and paste it 5 times and change its values. It should be the fox. It should be the fox again, and it should be the horse and rhino. Let's copy it, paste it, and it should be the tiger. Alright, so we are done with our user interface. Now we need to write our CSS to style it a bit. Before moving to the CSS, let's see if we are looking different images on the screen. So let's run it. So you can see that we are seeing different images and a heading image gallery. Now let's write some CSS in order to style it as I showed you at the start of my video. Okay, so let's go and write it. First I will add the body tag to create the background, and background should be, let's make it black, and then after that change it to this. Okay, and the default font size for the whole HTML file. Okay, so let's add sans serif. After that let's style our heading, and it should be white. So F will work fine. Text align should be the center. Alright, an unordered list, it should be the list style has to be none, margin has to be 0, and auto as well to bring these to center. Alright, and after that we have the padding padding has to be 0, display has to be block, and max width has to be, let's make it 780 pixels. Alright, you can set these values according to your screen size. I'm doing it with my own screen size. Alright, so text align center. Now let's add some styles to our list item. So its padding would be the 5 pixels, background color has to be white, margin has to be 5 pixels, and display has to be inline block. Alright, so now let's go and add some style to our image inside our anchor tag. So its display would be the block, width has to be 130 pixels, and height has to be 100 pixels. And anchor tag, we don't want anything because we have an image inside it, so text decoration should be none. So we have added our style to our HTML. Now let's see if we have actual user interface. So you can see that we have actual user interface. Now what if I click any of these images? It will take me to the new URL. Alright, this was the default behavior in old days. Nowadays people like to see something more attractive. That's why we're gonna make image pop up rather than navigating to the new URL. Alright, so now let's go and write our jQuery code. Make sure you have included these files in your HTML. Okay, so let's go and write code. If you have already have experience with jQuery, it's good for you to watch this tutorial. If you don't know jQuery, then I will try to explain each and everything that what I'm going to do. So you can see that we have these elements. In order to create our pop-up, image pop-up, we need to create dynamic HTML elements with the help of our jQuery. We can also create it with JavaScript or any other JavaScript library like jQuery. So in order to create dynamic HTML at runtime with the help of jQuery, we need to use some syntax, JavaScript or jQuery syntax. So first I will create an overlay element that can be anything, that can be div, span. In here I'm gonna make a div element as my blackish overlay. So this is my actual project. So if I click on it, you can see that this is the blackish area that has opacity of 50%. So this is the overlay. I'm gonna give it a tag name of div. Alright, so first we need to create a variable overlay. Alright, the variable should start with a $sign. It is a recommended practice, but it is not necessary that whenever we create dynamic elements with the help of JavaScript or jQuery, we need to assign that element to a variable that starts with that $sign. Alright, so in order to create an HTML element, we need to start with $sign, and inside these brackets we can write our HTML element. So that has to be div and give it an ID of overlay. Alright, it should end this thing. Alright, it should have an ending div tag as well. So make sure that you have double quotes right here and single quotes right here. If you use single quote here, then you should use double quotes for the value of ID. Okay, don't mix that up. So now we need to show this overlay inside our body tag. In order to embed this element inside our body tag, we need to use a built-in function called append to append this overlay inside this body tag. Alright, so now we need to select our body tag. In order to select it, we need to write $, and then inside this quotes we have selected. Now we can call a function append. Okay, and in here we can write our variable name. We have not shown anything, but we are just appending at the back end of our HTML. Alright, we will show this overlay on the click event of any image. Alright, so now we need to create our image element to append that element inside this overlay, because an overlay contains this image. We need to create it with the help of jQuery as well. So now let's add a variable called image, and as overlay we can create this image element like this. Alright, this element doesn't contain an ending tag, so it's pretty fine. Now we need to append this image. It should start with a $. Okay, we need to append this image element to this overlay. Alright, so now overlay dot append, it should contain an image. Alright, now we need to create another image element for this cross button. This is actually an image, alright, not a button. So let's create that. It should be the close and then $, and then image tag, and give it an ID with the single quotes because we have used double quotes outside. So close image, and well, let's close this tag here. So we have created this image. Again we need to append this image element inside this overlay. So you have analyzed the layout, the structure. The body contains this overlay, and overlay contains this image and this image. Alright, so overlay dot append, it has to be close. Now we have created our elements. Now we need to show these elements when we click any of those images. Alright, so in order to detect click event, we can use a click function inside jQuery. First we need to detect that individual list items are clicked, but not this whole body or anywhere. Alright, so in order to select individual list item, what we can do is not the list item but individual anchor tags inside these list items. We can select, first we can select this UL tag. Alright, so in order to select this UL tag, we can directly select it with this UL or from then ID image gallery. So we have selected this. Now we need to select anchor tag inside this image gallery. Alright, and if any of the anchor tag inside this image gallery is clicked, alright, so now what we will do if this clicked? First we need to disable the default functionality of anchor tag. The default functionality of anchor tag is it takes us to this URL. Alright, it opens up a new file, a new URL, and show that image in the new file. We need to disable that functionality in order to open our pop-up. So in order to disable that functionality, we need to select an event attribute. We are not sending anything, but this is the built-in event keyword. Alright, so event keyword will contain prevent default. It will disable that default functionality of taking us to a new file and change the URL. Now we need to add an image inside this image tag. Right now this image tag contains nothing, it is empty. Okay, you can see that this is the image. It should contain that image on which we have clicked that from that image gallery. Alright, so how we can assign an image to this element? We can assign a value to this element while getting the value from this tag, because this anchor tag will be clicked and we can get the value from the clicked attribute. Okay, so first let's get the image source, and in order to detect that which of these anchor tags was clicked, we can't add check to individual anchor tags. We can use this keyword in order to detect that which list item was clicked, and in order to get the value of href attribute we can use this function and then href. Alright, so this variable is containing this value. Alright, if this anchor tag is clicked, if this anchor tag is clicked, then this variable will contain this value. Alright, so now let's assign this value to this image tag. Now let's go and add that value. So image dot attribute, alright, it has to be source and then image source. So we have assigned this value to the attribute source of this element. Okay, now we need to assign this close image to this attribute. So let's add close. We can directly assign its value because right now our HTML doesn't contain value of this close tag. Okay, so we can use images close dot png. Alright, after that we can show our overlay. So overlay dot show. Okay, it will not look really good because we haven't added styles for these elements inside our CSS. That we're gonna do after checking it if it's working fine or not. So let's go to HTML and run it. I'm gonna click any of these events, so you can see that both of these images are being shown. Actually these are not looking pretty cool. Now let's go and write some CSS for these elements. So now let's come here and write some CSS. So first select that overlay ID, okay, and set its background. We need to set its opacity as well, so we can't directly write color name. We can do it RGB, A for alpha, and red is 0, green is 0, blue is 0, and opacity is 5. Okay, now we need to set its position. That has to be absolute. Okay, and top has to be 0, left has to be 0, display none, text align center, and width has to be 100%, height has to be 100%, and padding top would be 5%. Alright, we have set the CSS for our overlay. We need to set the CSS now for this image and this close button. Alright, so let's come here and select image inside that overlay. So its width would be 500. You can set the width and height according to your screen. I'm setting it according to my screen. So border has to be 10 pixels, solid, and black. It's white actually. So now we need to write some CSS for this close button. Alright, so let's go and select that close button first. So overlay, inside that overlay we have that close image, and its width would be 40 pixels, height would be 40 pixels again, its border would be 0 pixels, position absolute, top 5 pixels, right 5 pixels, and z index would be 1. Alright, so I think we are done with it. Now let's see if we have our actual user interface of our image pop-up or not. So let's run it, and I'm gonna click any of these images, so you can see that it's working really fine, but it will not work if I click on this cross button. This is the 2 lines of code. So now let's go and write code for that cross button. Alright, what we need to do is we need to first detect the click event on that close button. Alright, so now let's go and then close dot click. Alright, and inside this function, what we're gonna do, we're gonna hide this overlay if we click on this button. Alright, so in order to hide that, we need to first use the jQuery and then hide function. Inside here we need to write an element on which we want to be clicked. So we want this element, this element to be hidden. Alright, so if the close button is clicked, the overlay element will be hidden. Now let's save it and run it again. Now I'm gonna click on this image. This pop-up has been shown. Now I'm gonna click on this cross button. You can see that image has gone. I'm gonna click on this image, it's gone. Click on this image, it's gone. So I think that we are done with our task. I hope that you have learned a lot and liked this tutorial. So make sure you subscribe my channel and stay tuned. I'm gonna make more tutorials on jQuery as a reminder for you that my tutorial will be based on projects or tasks. I will not be explaining individual functionality inside any language or a framework, but I will be doing small projects in my tutorials. So make sure you stay tuned and stay with me in order to learn more, and thanks for watching my tutorial.